Hello and welcome back to World 360. Ever since the Taliban takeover in Afghanistan last August, all eyes have been on Pakistan, with a few suggesting that if it wasn't for Islamabad's assistance, the Taliban wouldn't have been able to make such a storming comeback. However, we mustn't forget that Pakistan and Afghanistan are immediate neighbours, and unique challenges always arise between countries who share a border. Now, this is one of the main reasons why Pakistan's National Security Advisor, Moeed Yusuf, is visiting Afghanistan on 18th and 19th January to discuss the issue of border fencing with the Taliban regime. The disputed border, also known as the Durand Line, stretches over about 2,600 kilometers through rivers, mountains, and other physical features. While Pakistan recognizes it as an international border inherited by the British after 1947, Afghans have long rejected it. So it's not just that the Taliban regime disputes the border, but Ashraf Ghani, Hamid Karzai, and regimes as far back as the last king of Afghanistan, Muhammad Zahir Shah, have held the same stand. Let's not forget that this border runs through Pashtun tribal lands, leaving villages and families divided. So why is this 128-year-old thorn in Afghanistan and Pakistan relations cropping up again? Since 2017, Pakistan has been erecting a fence along the porous border mainly to discourage terrorist activities and narcotics trade. Despite Pakistan's financial woes through the pandemic and otherwise, the $500 million border fence project has been largely going smoothly. About 94% of the fence so far has been completed. However, videos have recently emerged on social media purportedly showing members of the Afghan Taliban tearing down parts of the border fence. Last month, there were also military skirmishes at the border in areas of Ganjgal, Sarkano, and Kunar. Last week, the Afghan army chief categorically asked Pakistan not to erect any more fences on the border with Afghanistan. Pakistan Interior Minister Sheikh Rashid Ahmad later said that the remaining border fence would be completed with the consent of our brothers, a reference to the Taliban. Perhaps this is why the Pakistan NSA is visiting Kabul to seal the deal. So why has no modern Afghan government ever accepted the Durand Line? Let's do a quick history lesson. The Durand Line was established in 1893 by British diplomat Mortimer Durand and Afghan ruler Amir Abdur Rahman. The British wanted to secure control of the strategic Khyber Pass between the two lands, which is why the border was established through all kinds of terrain and basically cleaved tribal lands. Afghans have long rejected this border, arguing that the agreement between Durand and Rahman had a 100-year time limit, which expired in 1993. After Pakistan gained independence in 1947, Afghanistan brought up the Durand Line issue again. But Islamabad didn't budge. This hatred was visible when Afghanistan was the only country to vote against Pakistan joining the United Nations in 1947. It's worth mentioning a very important Pashtun figure, Abdul Ghaffar Khan, from the northwest frontier province now called Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Khan was very much in favor of an independent Pashtunistan, but as many historians write, he was betrayed by the Congress Working Committee when it came to the partition plan. Pashtuns were only given the choice to be determined through a referendum of going with India or Pakistan and not of independence. After the Northwest Frontier Province voted in favor of joining Pakistan, Khan tried fighting for a better deal for the frontier region, but for this spent many years in jail, eventually going into exile in Kabul. Now, a key problem with the Durand Line is that it's not just a border issue. It divides Pashtun communities. And let's not forget that the Taliban is, after all, a Pashtun grouping. Manvendra Singh, a Congress leader and editor-in-chief of Defense and Security Alert, explains the sentimentality of the issue by saying, as with many Indians suffering from partition remorse, the Pashtuns chafe at the Durand Line that divides their lands between Afghanistan and Pakistan. There's also a deep dive story by Gandhara RFERL on how the border fence has adversely affected the businesses of Pashtuns and even the Mahmood tribe in particular. So what does this mean for Pakistan and Afghanistan relations today? The border fencing issue has become particularly contentious over the last month. To add to it, the banned TTP, or the Pakistani Taliban, ended its ceasefire agreement with the Imran Khan government on 10th December, in a major setback for the Prime Minister's efforts to secure a peace agreement. This once again raises questions about the security of the porous border. Let's not forget that the regions surrounding the Durand Line have been used by armed groups including the TTP, the Haqqani network and Al-Qaeda to conduct attacks in both countries. It's not a coincidence that in 2016, for example, Taliban chief Mullah Mansur was killed by US forces in Pakistan's backyard in Balochistan. Later in 2018, TTP leader Mullah Fazlullah was killed in a US drone strike in Afghanistan's Kunar province. But analysts like TCA Raghavan, former High Commissioner of India to Pakistan, have argued that it is in the interest of Taliban and the Pakistan government to ensure that this stays a local issue. Speaking to the Times of India earlier this week, Raghavan said, "Their agreement at present outweighs any of these numerous frictions which may exist, but it is in the interest of both to maintain this tight alliance which led to the Taliban returning to power in a dramatic way after 20 years. Thank you so much for watching. This is Pia Krishnankutty for The Print. Do subscribe to The Print and follow us on social media. Meanwhile, hope you and your families are keeping safe.